My name is Andrew Calder. I'm a paranormal researcher, also an ordained Episcopal priest / exorcist.
My name is John Zaffis, a paranormal investigator in demonology.
Dangers, or even a lot of the paranormal investigators, the new amateurs that are out there, do you think any of them really can comprehend the dangers that exist on a spiritual realm?
I think not, because most of them see it as like, this is cool, fun, and there's so many ghost shows out there now that like, well, it's mom and pop type ghost, which is a little term I've coined. You know, like, oh, it's a spirit running through the house and stuff like this. Sometimes that's the case, but sometimes there may be something else in the background waiting for you. And due to a lot of these shows, they accept it as like, it's okay, so many people's doing it. They don't take precautions, they don't protect themselves, they don't pray or anything like that. So they go in there, poop, whoops, man, this ain't a human ghost. There's something on the other side waiting for me. I wasn't prepared for this, but by that time, it's too late for you. And especially if there's any young people out there, which there's a lot of young people out there that's somewhat sensitive these days, you know, they're even more open to these type entities. So they have to be very, very careful. There's nothing. I've worked with a number of paranormal researchers that's become possessed by cases they worked on. And I hate to tell you, depending upon what entity you're dealing with, some of them can't be removed. So you know, if that doesn't bother you, think about it like this. These things can stay with you for a lifetime. It's something you can pass on to your children, your spouse, your children's children, right on down the family line. It's a gift that keeps on giving. So I warn you to be very careful in what you get involved with and what you do. This is definitely not a realm to play around with or just for fun.
Well, how would most new investigators or kids investigating tell the difference between this is a ghost, human spirit, or this is something demonic? All I know is I got the EVP. It sounded like a little boy or a little girl, and now they're here in my house.
Well, that's one of the ways they get involved in your life, is they get you to lower your guard, because we think about a little boy, a little girl, because we're going, oh, it's a little girl, it's a little boy. You know, our human frailties and sympathies start playing in. And you've got to understand the demonic and malevolent know how to play us. You know, they know how to push our buttons because they've been around for thousands of years, much longer than we've been alive. So they know how the human being works. They know how the psychic sensitivities work. And so they will play those buttons, you know, to get into you, to get attached to you. They don't necessarily have to possess you, but they can be attached to you. People don't move from haunted house to haunted house to haunted house to haunted house. There's haunted people, there's haunted places, you know, which means it's attached to you, not the property. Now, don't get me wrong, they are haunted places, but there's also haunted people. And when you get involved in these cases, you can become vulnerable to what we call demonic attachment.
So let's say I'm investigating and suddenly I'm getting a lot of EVPs everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be a possibility that there's something on me? And the fact that I'm recording in my own home around my families and kids, is this something that could lash back? Have you seen a pattern with paranormal investigators as far as getting some really great evidence and an attack that follows?
I think one of the biggest keys is obsession. People get obsessed with doing these like EVPs, you know, Ouija board seances, anything that, you know, opens the doorway up. They get obsessed with it. And therein lies the problem. You know, it's something fun, it's cool, you've got otherworldly things talking to you, you know, wanting to communicate, giving you information and knowledge that nobody else knows. You know, so you start doing it all day long. You start cutting yourself off from friends, neighbors, relatives, your outside sources. You don't go to church, you don't talk to other positive people. You start just listening to these things all the time. You know, I've seen people do them, you know, 12 hours a day, just sitting around doing nothing but EVPs and different types of communication. So it opens up, what it does is open you up. You know, it subverts your free will. You think it's innocent because it's something that's promoted, you know, on TV and the mainstream and everything else. You know, these people that usually do it that way know what they're doing. Just because you pick up a book or watch a TV show doesn't make you an expert on doing this. You know, I recommend your faith. Your faith is going to be your number one tool. Most people never do any type of prayer, protection, or anything before they do EVPs or things of that nature. You know, even I, involved in the paranormal world with a lot of people, I always recommend to them that we do some type of prayer before we get started with this as part of the protection process. And we end with a prayer as a protection process, to stop anything from beginning and to cut off anything that's trying to attach as kind of a back-end type deal.
So EVPs can be dangerous?
They can be.
Do you think many investigators, have you seen investigators take it to where they're now hearing voices that are not being recorded, that are actually being planted in their head by the entities they previously reported?
Sure. What it does is they start operating more on a psychic level, because that's really what the EVPs are, is they're drawing off the person. Because you'll find some people that can't get an EVP no matter how hard they try. You'll find other people, they'll get EVPs the first time they try, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. I also find there's people that get nothing but negative, nasty EVPs no matter where they go, which indicates to me it's not the hauntings at the places, it's the person that's got attachments to them. But for that to happen, they've already opened themselves up.
Okay, what is the worst case situation that you've dealt with involving someone anonymously, paranormal-wise or kid-wise, who went out and got in trouble? So just quick kind of pop through.
Don't intend to rob, but I was just going to say, you want to do a joint thing, or you?
Well, Mr. Zaffis, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Okay, you want to introduce yourself, title, name?
John Zaffis, paranormal researcher and demonologist.
And how many years have you been involved in this?
36 years.
What would your recommendation be for the new wave of kids who are coming into the paranormal watching these TV shows? Are there dangers? Is it something they should be just running out and doing?
I think you should be very guarded when getting involved with this. Try to team up with people. There's nothing wrong with learning to understand the paranormal or understand a lot of the different things that occur with it. But you do got to be very careful, I think. Just jumping into this at too young of an age is a very dangerous thing. Kids are very vulnerable. I don't know of any child that if you ask them if they want to go to a haunted location, they're going to tell you no. Most of them will agree to do it and they will go. I think it's good to see if you can't team up with people, learn as much as you can before you actually venture out to it, to get involved with paranormal investigating.
Okay. What's some of the dangers that you've seen affect either children or investigators?
Well, investigators, you got to remember, today a lot of people just jump right into it. Here again, sometimes it's not always their fault. There's no one around to work with. I'm sure Andy finds the same thing. You try to find people to team up with. A lot of times organizations don't let people in, and people venture out on their own, and they're trying to learn it and try and understand it and get themselves in some serious trouble. You can get spirit attached to them, do different things. So I always tell people to be very cautious, practice whatever your belief system is. I don't care if you worship a 5-pound crystal, as long as you call in on the positive to be able to help protect yourself. And with children, you got to remember, when kids are growing and they're young, they're very vulnerable, they're very impressionable. So I think we got to be a little guarded and a little careful with the younger kids. Within my organization and my belief system, not my religious belief system, but I feel around 17, 18 is a good age to actually start venturing into it. They're a little bit more level-headed at that point in time. I don't know, I've raised teenagers, and I know you'll jump right in to do anything you possibly can. I know I did as a kid.